Yo, what is up? This is going to be a very impromptu video today. I decided to do a video instead of typing out a blog post. I think it'll just be easier. I've got a bunch of things kicking around in my head. I've got some notes here. I've got some general concepts related to self-improvement that I've been really kicking around a lot, thinking about a lot, and trying to enact, trying to do. And so I wanted to just quickly talk about what these things are, and maybe this is going to help you as, in your self-improvement journey or for whatever reason. I mean, everybody's on this journey of figuring out different things in their life to make themselves better, to have a better life. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? So first things first, why is it important? I was listening to a podcast the other day with Joe Polish and Dean Jackson. It's called the I Love Marketing podcast. And the particular episode that I was listening to was with Joe Polish and his kind of strategy and techniques for connecting people and for really bringing people together and having rapport with people. And it was, it's a fascinating podcast. I think that everybody should be listening to it. If you're even remotely interested in marketing, it's something that you need to check out. These guys are legends, they're geniuses, it's great. But basically in there, Joe was talking about, I have my notes here, Joe was talking about the fact that some people would just wake up happy. Like Dean Jackson, for instance, is just kind of a very happy-go-lucky person. And himself is not. He doesn't wake up every morning with the sense of the world just being unbelievably awesome, and I'm gonna go grab today by the balls and get out there. And there's some people that is not what the world is like to them. And in a lot of ways, I'm the same way. Some mornings I wake up and I'm not in a great mood. I can wake up in a shitty mood. I can start the day in a really bad mood sometimes. And so it's something that you have to work at. Happiness, self-improvement, these things are things that you have to consciously make an effort towards. So that leads me kind of into my next point, which is you have to live in reality. And sometimes we don't kind of acknowledge our faults, and that's going to lead into the next point, but we don't really truly look at the world around us and understand it. And something that I wrote about in the past was the world in the predicting the future post. Basically, the world is going to work like it should 99% of the time. If you flip a light switch, it'll go off or on 99% of the time. The 1% of the time that it doesn't go on, you can probably rest assured that 99% of the time it just needs a new bulb. So the world works predictably, and it works how it should. So you have to live with that understanding. So if you're a fat ass, it's because of the past decisions that you've been making, right? It's the food choices. So if you eat a Big Mac, if you are pounding down sugar and shakes and all kinds of bad food and pizza, that's why you're fat, right? That's it. So you got to make a choice as to whether or not you want to live in reality, and whether or not you want to sit there and say, oh, I just don't understand it. No, bullshit. All right? The world works predictably 99% of the time. So that leads me kind of into this next point here, which is something that everybody does. I struggle with, everybody struggles with, and that's knowing yourself. So you kind of put up these walls to the outside world, and you kind of think of yourself as an awesome human being. A lot of the times, even when there's no real evidence to back that up, you think, I'm so different, I'm so much better than all these other people, and that's good for self-esteem reasons, right? I mean, you should hold yourself in high esteem, but I think that you should also know what you're shitty at, what your flaws are, right? So something I've been doing is kind of consciously, and I haven't actually done this, but I need to get out a piece of paper and I need to list down what my flaws are, and I have many of them, and so once you've listed them out, that's kind of the acceptance of reality that these flaws exist. And what you can do is you can start either addressing the flaw by getting knowledge about it, by buying an information product, by getting a course on tape, doing something, reading a book, going out and actually fixing it, doing a challenge for yourself, so you can address it. Or there's something that maybe you need to accept your flaw. So maybe you're an asshole, but there's nothing. It would be insanely difficult or almost impossible for you to fix that. Then you can just kind of accept that flaw and then work with that flaw. So knowing that you are an asshole, knowing that, then you can kind of, your interactions with people, you know why things are happening, and you can kind of work around the fact that you know that you're a dick. So maybe that's something that you need to do. So I would suggest listing out all the stuff that you're bad at, all of your flaws, and accepting them. And the first step, to fixing something is accepting it. It's not denial. It's not blanking out. It's not denial. It's accepting that you're bad at something and then making the effort to fix it. So there are lots of stuff like that for me. And then, something that you might want to do is put a safeguard in place. I know that if I start down a path of eating poorly, then I'm done. Like, I can waste a whole week just binging and doing awful things. I just know that's like part of my personality. So I have to put safeguards in place to not end up doing that. Or I know that if I start having beer or alcohol, that's a very, very slippery slope for me. So there's got to be safeguards in place that can kind of work with my different personality flaws and traits, and not just like deny that they actually exist. So just get real. Okay, so now once you've kind of identified a problem, then something that I've been thinking a lot about, and I've been talking about with one of my good friends, is having a mission. I think every man needs to have a mission. Paul Curiazzi, a guy I used to work with, he has James Bond Lifestyle. Basically, it's an audio tape talking about James Bond and different self-improvement tactics. But one of the big things in his product, and it's a really good product, is and then I think this is also in, I haven't actually read it, but or is it The Way of the Superior Man, or I'll link that up. But basically, every man needs a mission, right? So you need to have something that you're striving towards. And recently, I discovered that I was just kind of floating. I had no defined mission in my mind. It was basically just kind of hang on and just kind of float through things. And I think that's kind of how a lot of people are living their lives. There's no real mission involved. There's nothing like to work towards. So once you have that, you have to define that mission, right? And sometimes that's just getting out a piece of paper and figuring out exactly what you want. You hear this all the time, where people are like, take your goals, write them down, put them somewhere where you can see them. That's the mission. There's some mission there. Okay, so having that mission, and then taking that mission and having a defined plan towards achieving that mission, so achieving that goal. And that can be really hard. And I mean, sometimes it's got to be a pretty loose plan. Sometimes you might need to adjust your plan as different things come up. But getting some sort of plan in place that you think might work, and then getting the education to fill in the little pieces of that plan. Okay, so I think that's really, really important as well. And then also, with that defined plan, having public accountability. And this is something that, I've done it time and time again, and I've actually written in the past about why public accountability might not be so good, because sometimes people will tell you that you're doing great before you've even done anything, and you get all these endorphins rushing through your body saying, yeah, I'm great, I set this plan, I told everybody about it, and then you don't actually do it. But there is something to be said for having a goal that's public. So when I did the Man Challenges goal to do the Hollywood Physique, I saw incredible results because I was posting a picture every single day to that website. And so if I got off track or allowed myself to slip, then boom, hundreds, thousands of people, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands of people would see me fucking up. And that sucks. You don't want that, right? So having some sort of public accountability thing in place, maybe it's just you talking to friends and family about what you're going to do, but don't allow them to give you props before you've actually done anything, right? So you got to selectively choose who you're being publicly accountable to. So I think that's really, really important. It's something that I'm going to reenact here a lot. So if I have different goals in mind, I'm going to be posting them up and letting you know exactly what those things are. And don't tell me I'm awesome until I've actually achieved them. So public accountability. And then being prolific, all right? The more that I post and I put out to the world, the more shitty stuff I produce, but at the same time, the more good stuff I produce. And something that I have to do is just put more things out into the world, be more prolific, fail more, suck more. You know, you might even not like this video, but I'm going to put it out, okay? So getting all those things out. So the different, you know, here's a quick recap. I mean, it's important to work on this stuff because some of us aren't just hardwired to be happy. We've got to work on it. You have to live in reality, have a full understanding that the world works how it should 99% of the time. And part of this is knowing yourself, listing out your flaws, realizing that you are not perfect, and that, and then working around your imperfections. Then you need a mission, you need defined plans, couple that with public accountability, and then just being prolific and getting shit out there, shipping. Seth Godin talks about that a lot, just ship. And then, you know, Stephen Pressfield, everybody talks about just like writing, doing, creating, producing, putting it out there. People are going to hate it, people are going to love it, but you got to just ship. So those are the things that have been bouncing around in my head. If I end up creating some sort of master awesome system around these different ideas, that is going to lead to massive, incredible results for everybody. I'll post up a more in-depth blog post. But for now, I think those are some things that you might want to kick around. Thanks for watching.